The reason I brought you back here is because we don't always have a printer installed, so I wanted to show you how to install a printer. Regardless of the operating system version you have, somewhere on this window you will see an option to add a printer. Mine happens to be on the top left corner. I'll go ahead and give that a click. The first thing it needs to know is if you're trying to add a local printer, one that is physically connected to your computer, or a network, wireless, or Bluetooth printer, something that is not physically connected to your printer. I'm going to go ahead and choose Adding a Local Printer. If this is a local printer, the next thing it needs to know is, how is it connected to your computer? Is it using a printer port? And you'll see from this drop-down that we have many options. We could have multiple printer ports, we could have something called serial ports, we could have what's known as print-to-file, which is an electronic thing we're not going to talk about. We also could have some things using the network. A variety could be available. I'm simply going to stay with the good old-fashioned printer port on the back of the computer. There are ways to create a new port, but that's beyond the scope of this class. So we'll select our printer port and then click Next at the bottom right. The next step is to install the printer driver. Now remember that a printer is a piece of hardware. We're also connecting it to our CPU, which is another piece of hardware. But if you remember, we had a discussion about different languages. And even though both of these are pieces of computer equipment, and ultimately they're going to speak a similar language, getting down to that binary stuff, the fact of the matter is that the CPU, the motherboard, the processor, and the printer may speak different versions of the same language, which means they're not completely understood. We need to have kind of a mini translator in the middle, and that's what a driver does. A driver is a little piece of software that tells the hardware, in this case my computer, how to communicate with the printer. It tells it things like what features does it have and what language is it speaking. This actually is a fairly simple process. You start by choosing the manufacturer of your printer from the left-hand side. You will see as you scroll down that most of the big ones are here. I'm going to scroll back up to the top, and I'm going to choose Epson. No particular reason why, just as an example. Once you choose the manufacturer on the left, then you will see a list of appropriate printers for that vendor on the right. If you're not seeing your printer, you should click on Windows Update, and that will update the list. I'm going to scroll down here and show you that there are several different types of Epson printers. If you're not sure what kind of printer you have, walk over to it, and somewhere on the top or on the front you should see a label that actually gives you the number. I'm going to go ahead and choose a photo printer just because we don't have one yet, and I'm thinking we'll just do the Epson Stylus Photo RX620. Again, no particular reason why, I just want to install a photo printer. Once we've done that, we can click on Next. This is where we give the printer our useful friendly name, and I'm going to simplify it. I'm going to call it Epson Photo. It tells us that even though I'm giving it the shortened name, that it's going to be installed with the Epson Stylus Photo RX620M driver. This is all good. Now I'll move down and I'll click on Next. It may take a few seconds to a couple of minutes to install the printer and the driver. Then it will come up with a window asking you if you want to share this printer. That is up to you. You can either not share the printer, or you can share the printer with other people on your network. Now, if you're at home and you don't have a printer on every computer, you would want to choose Share the Printer so that other people can see it. And then you can either give it the same name, or you can give it another name. For example, I might call it Epson Photo on Aaron or something like that, so that they know that this is the one connected to my computer. You also can put in a comment that can be a little bit more detailed if you want. And if you're in a large office, you actually can put a location, that it's in conference room A or cubicle D or something like that. This is not required, and it can be changed at any time. But once you get it set the way you want, you'll again click Next. The last step is to always determine if you want to set this as the default printer, and I'm actually going to remove that check mark. I want to keep my HP as the default printer. And then normally I do recommend that you click the button that says Print a Test Page. That's how you'll be able to tell if you have set up the printer correctly. I'm not going to do that because of course you won't be able to see it happen. So I'm simply going to click Finish. Then we get to see our new printer has been added to our list, and we also can see this little icon next to it. Now the icon may differ depending on what operating system you're using, but there should be some little icon or maybe even a little hand holding a piece of paper that tells you that this is a shared printer. Now it's all ready to use. By using the Devices and Printers window, or for prior operating system, just the Printers window, you're able to track what printers you have, change the properties of those printers, look at the print queue, as well as install new printers. Well, let's go ahead and get out of this window by moving to the upper right corner and clicking on the red X. And now let's take some time to actually print some documents.